started. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Jody Kaplan, and I'm a Senior Director for UConn Alumni Relations. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's Welcome to the Neighborhood New Haven County program. This is a bit of a new twist on our annual event since we've had a pivot into the virtual world, so bear with us on the technology front. I have the pleasure of being your host this evening, and joining me from the Alumni Engagement team is Kristen Luger, our Engagement Coordinator. Kristen will be handling all of our production aspects tonight, so wish her some luck. To those of you who are our newest Huskies to the family, welcome to our alumni community. To those of you joining us that are more seasoned pups, welcome to you as well, and we're glad you're joining us. Today, we're very excited to bring you a panel of New Haven County experts, people who have done what you're hoping to do or what you may have already done, and people who can speak to some of the most crucial information you need to know about the New Haven area. From apartment hunting, to what bars are the best, to traffic patterns and public transit tips and tricks, we hope to cover a little bit about a lot tonight. So first, let me do some housekeeping. First and foremost, this event is recorded. So if you miss any part of it, you'll be able to catch the recording, or you can pass it along to friends if you know that they're going to be interested in this. And for those of you who took advantage of our address and information updating deadline during registration, your lanyards will be mailed out at the end of the month. Ooh, ah. Next, all of the attendees are muted, but we know questions are going to arise. So feel free to throw them right in the Q&A section of your toolbar, and we're going to do our best to answer them all. Additionally, feel free to use the chat function down below to engage in some dialogue with others here tonight. Lastly, we realize this is impossible to meet people in this environment. So that's why we've included a post-panel happy hour and social opportunity in Zoom meeting. So at the conclusion of this presentation, head over to the happy hour via the link that is posted in our chat box. Don't forget when you get there to turn your camera on, grab a beverage, and we'd like you to use this time to ask more questions and meet some of the other alums in the area. So make sure that you copy the link that's located in the chat box and enter it into your browser. The link is also at the bottom of every reminder email that we've sent you. And I think you're even going to get another email in the middle of this presentation with the link to the happy hour. We can't be too careful. And to entice you more to come to the happy hour, by registering for this event, you've been entered into a drawing to receive a UConn baseball cap. Nice, huh? We're going to pick the winners at the happy hour, but you must be present to win. Now, enough of the housekeeping, and let's get on to what tonight is all about. Joining us tonight are some of the best and brightest Huskies in New Haven County. And on behalf of the Alumni Relations Office, I would like to thank each of them for taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us and help you gain a better understanding what it's truly like living in the New Haven area. Moderating our panel discussion for us tonight is Laura Anastasio, a longtime UConn volunteer. I leave you all in very good hands. I'll now turn the show over to you, Laura.
Thank you, Jody. I hope you can hear me okay. I am so happy to be here and welcome fellow Husky alum. I am happy to be here tonight. So I graduated from the School of Business in 1987, a health systems management major. And I work for a company called Optum, which is a health services company owned by United Health Group. And I am a senior director in our Optum Technology organization. I have remained in the New Haven area for 40 plus years, grew up in the area and came back after college and made my life in the New Haven area, and I'm happy to still be here. So with that, I'm going to ask Riley to go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Riley Doherty. I graduated in 2017 from the College of Agriculture, Health, and Natural Resources. I studied natural resources with a concentration in climate and water quality. and I currently work as the Environmental Program Coordinator at the 8 Mile River Wild and Scenic Watershed, which is actually not in New Haven. It's actually in Eastern Connecticut, so the East Haddam, Salem, Lyme area. So I do commute. I actually split my time between my hometown of Haddam and our house in Fairhaven. And before we moved to Fairhaven, I worked at the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station as a research assistant, which is in East Rock area. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask them in the social hour.
Thanks so much. How about you, Betsy?
Hi, everybody. I'm Betsy Rolfe. I graduated from UConn in 1983 with a degree in business and a degree in economics. I've been in the New Haven area about 25 years, I would say. I currently work at Yale University in their technology area. So while I'm not going to the office at the moment and haven't been since March, I did spend a lot of time, obviously our offices were in New Haven, not in the part of Yale you might think of, but up in the Divinity School area. So hopefully I can answer any questions you have about Yale. So that's about it.
Thank you so much. Okay, Quinn.
Hi, I'm Quinn. I graduated in 2019. I work as an engineering lab tech at Medtronic, which is a really big medical device company in North Haven, but they've got branches all over. And I live in Wallingford. And yeah, excited to talk tonight.
Okay, and last but not least, Larry.
Great. Larry Carboni. I'm a School of Business graduate in 1986. I was an accounting major, and I'm still a CPA today. And I've lived in the New Haven area my whole life. I think I've lived in every town that touches New Haven. Never lived there, but I worked downtown for 30 plus years and do a lot of socializing down there. So might be the senior member of the group.
Excellent. All right, thank you. So I think we might, Jody, be doing a poll to learn a bit about our attendees. So let's see, there we go. So the first question is, are you living in the New Haven area right now? So if you want to go ahead and answer that question for us, this will give us a sense of who's currently here and who's not here yet. And hopefully it popped up on your screen and you can just pick a yes or a no. All right, 50-50. We have some folks living here and some folks not yet. All right, wonderful. And how about, can you tell us how many of you are in the class of 2020? I think that poll is coming up next. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we don't have any most recent grads. So thank you for giving us that information. That's super helpful. Okay, I think you heard a little bit from some of us about where we are. So I'm going to expand that question a little bit as we go into talking about the New Haven area. So I'm going to ask my panelists here, can you just maybe even repeat it again? So what area of the city do you live in? If you're in New Haven, in an outer area, outer town, and how did you end up selecting that spot, and did you have any help when you were looking for a place? So Riley, why don't we start with you?
Yep, so I live in Fairhaven with my boyfriend and his brother. We live right on the Quinnipiac River and right next to a couple parks. It's east of downtown area, about 10 minutes. And I actually didn't choose the area or the house. My boyfriend's brother did, so I can't really help you with that. But I do know of some Facebook groups and some apps that you can use to find housing.
Thank you. Okay, Quinn, remind us, where are you?
I'm in Wallingford, which is a town about 20 minutes outside of New Haven. Really easy little commute. I chose here because it's where my parents live, so the rent is free. But it's a nice spot, and my commute's not too long, so it's a good time.
Excellent. All right, Larry, how about you? Oh, you're on mute.
As I mentioned before, I didn't choose New Haven, it chose me. I was actually born in New Haven because of the hospital. And I guess the best way I could sum it up is why did I stay here? And I think it's the fact that New Haven's a real college town. I mean, there's colleges in some of the other Connecticut cities, but Yale is really right in the center of town, and it just makes it very diverse. Lots of different people, lots of different types of restaurants and bars and things to do, and it's really easy to get in and out of. So I think that's why I've always stayed in the area. Just really, really liked it, and a lot of my friends stayed too.
Thanks. How about you, Betsy? I know you're on the shoreline.
I am. I'm in Madison, which is due east, right along 95. Although Madison's long and skinny, so it also intersects with Route 80, which goes right into New Haven too. So there's two ways to get there. I guess we moved there, we were wanting to start a family, so we wanted to be out in the suburbs, but the shoreline has a lot to offer, and you can get to the shoreline, probably jumping a topic, from the train from New Haven, Shoreline East. It's close enough for a day trip, but makes you feel like you're way outside of the city. So it has restaurants and, of course, Hammonasset State Park to offer, which is free to all Connecticut residents. It has camping and trails, and it's huge, and it's really quite beautiful. So that's what drew us to Madison.
Excellent. I'm in the town of North Branford, which is also east. It's actually northeast of the city of New Haven. Super easy to get there, as Betsy, you just said, right? Drive down Route 80 and you're in New Haven. My husband works for Yale University, so he commutes that way. I actually commute north. So we've been here, gosh, it's about 20 years, and we had actually spent time living in other surrounding towns and ended up here. Similar reason, Betsy, raise a family and found we had the best of both worlds. It's the country, but it very close to being on the shore if you choose to want to see the water, which is another wonderful thing about this part of the state. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about getting around, right? So if we're talking about being in New Haven or wanting to get to New Haven, like what if you're living, so Riley, again, you're our New Haven expert tonight. So can you talk about what it's like to get around the city and what types of transportation you use?
Yep, so because I don't work in New Haven, I don't really take the bus system ever. I drive to work, and we usually drive a lot of places. Like if we're going out to eat, we'll drive like 10 minutes from Fairhaven to the downtown bar area. There's plenty of parking, and if you have a car, bring your car because it's useful. If you don't have a car, then live downtown and you probably don't have to use a car. My boyfriend, I do not bike, but my boyfriend bikes. He doesn't bike to work because he works in Wallingford, but he'll bike around just for fun. And he told me that most of the bike lanes, where there are bike lanes, are downtown. But he said most of the streets are wide enough for you to kind of stay to the side. And I also have a friend who is a part of a bike co-op, or she volunteers with the bike co-op. And so it's a pretty big cycling community, and they do a lot of events where you cycle up East Rock Park and you all drink coffee and eat pancakes together. So that's like a great way to meet people, especially if you're really into biking.
I love that. Eat pancakes together. That's fantastic. Larry, I think you have some biking connection as well, right? Some tips?
When my daughter was doing an internship in New Haven, the parking was a little limited near where the place she worked. So she would park a little farther out and pick up one of those kind of temporary rent-a-bikes. And so she'd park where it was free in some bigger neighborhood and then find the rent-a-bike and ride that into work. And now that's pre-COVID. Hopefully post-COVID, those come back. But they were all over the city and pretty popular.
Yeah, really great. I've seen people riding them as well. How about the public transportation, a little more about that? Betsy, I think you started talking a little bit about that.
I did. I was a person who at one time took the train to work. I took the Shoreline East. Its parking is free along the Shoreline East station. So if you take the train out from New Haven, runs 7 days a week. The parking is free in the suburbs. In New Haven, you do have to pay for parking. I did learn that the New Haven Union Station, which just celebrated its 100th anniversary this week, is the second largest station in Connecticut, and it's the 11th most frequently used on Amtrak. So from New Haven, nationally, Amtrak nationally, New Haven's the 11th busiest Amtrak station. You can, those of you who aren't in New Haven, you can get trains up and down the East Corridor from New Haven. There's also CT Rail, which is the state of Connecticut commuter rail from New Haven going to Hartford and past up that way. So there's stops in Berlin, Wallingford, and I think the parking is free at those stations too. Another thing I wanted to say is that the stations on Shoreline East, like Madison, if you go to get off in Madison, it's a very, very short walk to downtown Madison. And that's where a lot of the shopping is. There's an arts theater, which is closed now because of COVID, but when it comes back, that's a really popular theater. Our brand new library and lots of great dining and shopping. Also Guilford, it's not a very long walk at all, which from Guilford Shoreline East Station to the center of Guilford. They have a beautiful, beautiful green in Guilford and lots of good coffee spots and dining. So trains are, you can get to a lot of places from New Haven, local and then of course national.
Yeah, it's fantastic. My daughter just, before going back to college, took the train down to visit her boyfriend in Virginia. And super easy, brought her to Union Station. And she said, even during COVID times, how well run it was, how easy it was to get there. And the nice thing is you read a book, you watch movies. It's fantastic. So the cool thing about New Haven is your ability to get places so easily, whether you want to take the train into New York City, you want to take the train to Boston or go further. Definitely have the option. I've done the train to Washington, DC numerous times for business, and it's wonderful, right? You just get in your seat, open your laptop, easy peasy, and you're, you can get there, which is really awesome. So let's talk about hanging out in New Haven and the things that there are to do. So who would like to share? I mean, I think Jody set us up here. We've got to talk about restaurants, bars, things like that to promote all the great stuff. So how about, I'll start with you, Larry. You want to talk about New Haven and New Haven area, things that you would do in the city?
Sure. I mean, two of the things that I like to do is visit breweries and wineries and also see live music. So New Haven does have one brewery downtown, East Rock Brewing, which is really nice. It's kind of farther out from downtown, but pretty easily accessible. And then all the surrounding towns have at least one or two breweries. I'll put a plug in for my favorite, New England Brewing in Woodbridge, which is right on the New Haven line on Whaley Avenue there. The wineries, there's two in Wallingford, two in North Branford. Laura, I don't know if you've been to any yet, but those are a lot of fun. And there's lots of great small music venues downtown. The one I tend to go to because it's very easy is called Cafe 9. It's a bar. It's not open right now, but every Sunday they call it the Sunday Buzz, and sometime mid to late afternoon, they have like 1 or 2 hours of live music with no cover. And sometimes people bring in food, and it's a great way to just meet people, see some music, maybe go out to dinner afterwards. There's also College Street Music Hall, there's Toad's Place, there's a new live music place on State Street, just lots and lots of different places. So that's pretty easy to, all of them pretty easy to get to.
Thanks, Larry. I agree with you. I think Cafe 9, one of the places you mentioned, is iconic, right? It's about the size of, I think, this room I'm sitting in right now. It's so small, but you hear the best music there. You never know who's going to show up there. So all great suggestions. So who else wants to share? How about Riley?
Yep. So my boyfriend and I love going out to new restaurants. And we love farm-to-table restaurants, and there are some really amazing farm-to-table restaurants in New Haven. Basically, all the food in New Haven is like amazing, like New York City quality food, which is a great reason to move there. And so, like, some of the restaurants we love, I would say pre-COVID, because some of them are like half shut down. But there's a great restaurant called Olmo. It's all farm to table. They get their local produce. They get produce from local farms and meat from local farms too. And then there's a new restaurant called Tavern on State. It is probably one of the best restaurants in the whole state. It is amazing. And then even the inexpensive places, there are great Mexican places. There's Southern cooking. There's everything you could think of you can find in New Haven,
And
which
isn't
is
it
very
great?
different.
You can go to one place, like we've done this, you go to one place maybe for drinks and appetizers, and you can wander over to a place for dinner and then have dessert somewhere else, right? It's so easy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent, thanks. How about you, Betsy? What would you call out in New Haven?
Well, something I did not too long ago, again before COVID, a show at the Schubert, a matinee type show. So if you like, very different than a Yale Rep or something like that. Yale Rep, of course, is obviously Yale's production, but Schubert has a lot of road shows, musicals. Did a show at the Schubert, then did a little shopping as we walked to Union League Cafe and had just drinks and appetizers, and that was a really, really good evening. So that's Union League Cafe is sort of a special treat kind of place, but it's really wonderful. But even along all downtown, I would echo that it's hard to find a bad meal. I think you have to really work at it. A neighborhoody place, I like the Upper State Street area. There's a number of restaurants up there that I think are good. There's one, Cafe Bravo. It's a real neighborhood type place, Italian, really good, and they had lots of outdoor dining. I would recommend that place. Oak Tavern, I think that's what it's called on Upper State Street. Actually, all on that Upper State Street area, as you walk toward the center of New Haven, there's restaurants on both sides of the street. Lorchio is up there, Italian, wonderful. So dinner and a show, I think, would be something that would be fun to do, and I have done.
Excellent. All right. How about you, Quinn?
I totally agree about Olmo. Delicious. Living and working so close to New Haven is fun because my coworkers and I go out for lunch a lot, and we always try something new because they're a lot more fancy than me, so we try new things. But if you're kind of being fancy one day, Shell and Bones is really fun because it's right on the water there. And the food trucks, if you go across from IKEA, those are always a lot of fun and they're pretty cheap. What else? Also, I like to go to the New Haven Green on Saturdays. They're often having events or live music. So I'll walk around there, kind of see what's going on. Yeah, there's always something fun to do.
Excellent. Yeah. And super easy to get around, as we mentioned, and check out all these places. So Awesome examples. So how about those who have pets? I know, wanting to know if an area is dog or pet friendly. So Quinn, I think you're the one with the dog, right?
Yes, I just got a puppy a few months ago. He's so cute. It's a really good place for me to have a dog. There's a lot of green areas and a lot of dog parks around. And a lot of breweries and vineyards are really dog friendly. Larry, you said Nebco is one of your favorite. They're dog friendly. And every time I go there, I meet some cuties. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you can meet a lot of people through them too, which is nice.
Excellent. All right, so New Haven being a city and with some, Yale University and all the great places we've talked about, people may have questions about the cost of living and, how does it compare maybe to live in New Haven or around New Haven? So I think we were going to have, who was going to start this one off for us?
I can talk.
Larry, were you going to talk about this? Yeah, thank you.
I think generally speaking, there's, of the three biggest cities, New Haven, maybe four, New Haven, Hartford, Bridgeport, Stanford. New Haven's probably generally more affordable than the others because it's a little smaller. Does have a lot of smaller towns that touch it that aren't too far away, where there's lots of different living options. From renting a whole house to just a small apartment. I think anyone can find just about, any type of living quarters within 10 miles that'll suit their needs pretty easily.
And I think we talked about the rental spaces, right? So whether it be in New Haven or in surrounding areas, I know, Larry, we had talked about Hamden, right? There are some towns that have a lot more rentals and again, fairly easy to get in and out of the city and maybe find something, have more options, right? Okay. So if folks are new to the area, or we have some folks who aren't here, so they're planning to come in, what are some general tips you would share with folks as they move to the area, whether it's getting, anything about getting really ingrained in the city or finding out about events or things that are going on in the city? What would you suggest that folks do? So Riley, you want to share what you use to know what's going on?
You mean like social media and stuff like that?
Yeah, great.
Okay.
That would be great.
So there are plenty of social media profiles that I follow. I basically follow all the restaurants. I follow all the music venues because those are great places to meet people. If you are young and you don't have friends in New Haven yet, I would say, post-COVID, I would say go to the State House music venue or go to College Street music venue and start talking to people. I would also say to join, like if you're into biking, join that biking group that I mentioned, or volunteer somewhere. And I have plenty of Instagram handles that I wrote down for you guys. Or like some good ones to follow are like New Food _ New Haven, New Haven Register, New Haven Cocktail Week. I'm sure there's a New Haven Restaurant Week too that you could follow.
There is a New Haven Restaurant Week every year. Oh yeah, every year.
New Haven Climate Movement, New Haven Pride Center, Black Lives Matter Connecticut, Black Lives Matter New Haven, New Haven Economic Development, City Seed New Haven. City Seed does a lot of farmers markets. So all those places all those social media pages are great to follow for events or volunteer opportunities. That's just a great way to meet people.
Yeah, I saw something just come in on the chat, related to, how do you find out about arts and crafts events? And I guess Facebook is the social media for old people now, at least that's what I'm told. But I just use that. I mean, you can pick the type of event you want. And if it's an arts or crafts type thing, I think you just kind of check a box and then you just go to the events in the area, and you can kind of just personalize it to whatever you want. And when I have like nothing going on at all, I'll just go to Facebook and go to events this week or this weekend, and where it's New Haven area, put like, music, sports, whatever it is. And Facebook's pretty efficient. I don't know about the others because I'm not on them, but that's an easy way to find just about anything you're looking for. And just generally speaking, for New Haven current events, there's a kind of an independent publication. It's online only, called the New Haven Independent. And I don't believe they have an app at this time, but I just go to their webpage just about every day, and it'll tell you what's going on with the government, any anything new being built, anything being changed. Just probably the best source, way better than the New Haven Register, the bigger newspaper, for what's going on every day in New Haven.
Those are excellent examples of ways to stay connected,
Just
and
remind,
understand what's going on.
yeah,
Go
just reminded me, and I don't know how I get it because it was so long ago, but some publication puts out something every week called This Week in New Haven. And I'm sure if you just Google that, it'll take you there, and you subscribe to it. And every Monday morning, you get an email of what's going on in New Haven this week.
Excellent. Yeah, all of these are such great ways to find out what's going on. And I've had weekends where I just go into Google and I just type New Haven, and at the end, like we heard here, whether it's arts and crafts, whether it's music, whether it's, theater, if you type that into Google, you're always fortunate to have a number of things pop up to tell you what's going on in the city. And then in our town, we also have a paper that may, highlight things that are going on in New Haven as well. So definitely great ways to stay informed. Anyone else have any other things that they use? Want to share? Okay. So let's talk about staying connected as a UConn community. So what are the ways that you all stay connected with your fellow Huskies? So who would like to start with that?
So I check the UConn website. Plus, once you get your name, I'm on the School of Business list. I'm on sports because we have sports tickets. There's a million ways. Maybe Jody's probably better able to answer that than I am. But once they have your name, boy, they'll be reaching out to you. Don't worry.
How about anyone else? I'm not on Facebook, but Larry, I know you are. So Facebook, I hear there's a New Haven Facebook page. Do you use that?
Yeah, the UConn New Haven Alumni Facebook page. I'm a follower, so I get notified of UConn related events that way.
Excellent. How about Riley, Quinn? How do you stay connected, both to UConn events or your fellow alum? How do you do that?
My old friends from,
That's
sorry,
fine.
Riley, you first.
I would say volunteering is a great way to stay connected to UConn. And I mean, I stay connected to my own friends. I've gone to UConn alumni events like the Science Salon events, which are always really interesting. So I would say go to events and volunteer.
Thanks. Quinn?
Oh, yeah. So I was in SAA for a long time, so all my friends from that keep me updated. But definitely, I'm on all the email lists, and I do get the Facebook updates. Yeah, and they're always on Instagram. You can always find them.
Can find them, right?
You can always find them if you're looking.
So SAA, is that the Student Alumni Association?
Yes, it is.
Excellent.
I was in that.
I was in that
Yeah.
too, folks. Hey, we have got a little group here, student alumni. So I think you've heard a number of different ways that you can stay involved. There's the New Haven, there's UConn Alumni Facebook. Definitely go to events like this. And as Betsy said, you will be notified like you were notified about this. And so definitely let us know. And not only are we happy to see you in attending these. We're always happy to have folks participate and help plan and think about new ideas and really just find ways to connect with each other and to, again, benefit from being in a great city like New Haven. So all really cool things. And who knows, you may be on a future panel like this, which would be great. Okay, so I think as we talk about, and I know you all gave such great things and New Haven type things that you love to do. So I think it would be great to also understand, like, if you were, so we have a couple people on the call who are not in the area and maybe thinking about moving to the area. So if you were going to give some advice, right? And you know, we all have plenty of places to live. Like, why do you think New Haven is a great choice as a place to live? So why don't we go around on that? So Betsy, you want to start? Why New Haven?
Well, I think the area in general is a good place to live. Proximity to the coast, I like that. So New Haven's right on the coast, and the suburbs, easy to get to the coast, as you mentioned, or live in one of the suburbs. I think New Haven proper has a lot of big city benefits, like the quality of the food and the number of restaurants, the diversity of the restaurants, but it's still a small place. So you might not get some of the issues you might get in a bigger city. It's a walkable city, and the presence of Yale there brings a tremendous richness to the city. In terms of museums and theater. Even we mentioned biking earlier. I mean, because the Yale is so big and so spread out, and Yale's all their buildings provide places to hook your bike up. I mean, there's lots of places to hook your bike up. I think Yale is what differentiates New Haven as a city from any other small to, I don't even think it's a medium city. Yale is what brings it richness.
Thank you. Okay, Quinn, how about you?
I like it there a lot
Haven?
because, oh yeah. So I'm from Wallingford, which is a pretty small town. So I like that New Haven always has something going on. Anytime you get bored, you can try something new, or you can find an event that's happening, especially through Yale, I agree. Also, it's really close to anything you could want to do. If you want to go hiking or go to the beach or even get into Boston or New York, it's just so easy and convenient.
Thanks. Okay, Larry, what do you think? I think you may have given us a few tips along the way, but how would you sum it up? Why New Haven?
Similar to what Quinn said, it never stops, which is great. I've spent time professionally in Hartford and Stanford, and just because people go home from work doesn't mean things stop happening. I mean, people are out all the time, any day or night. It doesn't really matter. You can go downtown and there'll be people about, which also makes it a little safer too, I think. There's just people always there, and that, you know, again, has a lot to do with Yale, which helps, but that's what I like best about it.
Great, thanks. Riley?
And I would say that if you're comparing, if you're trying to decide between New Haven or Boston or New York City, New Haven is definitely more inexpensive. New York City and Boston can get really pricey, and just like trying to have a car in New York City, I have a few friends that live in Brooklyn. It's pretty impossible. It's so expensive. And if you're like me and you like to go hiking on the weekends, that's really not a thing if you're living in New York City. You can't just easily leave because if you're living in Brooklyn, it's like an hour train ride to Manhattan, and then it's like 2 hours to New Haven. So like to get out of New York City is, I think people find it sometimes difficult, and New Haven, you can easily go anywhere you want. There's never a feeling of being trapped. And Boston is like that too, but New Haven is much less expensive. And it's very culturally diverse and artistic. It's a great place to live.
Well, I couldn't say it better than what you heard from the panel. So yes, we are so happy to have you here with us. We thank you for the time. We hope we've given you some some of the view of not only why New Haven is so cool, but why we love it so much and are here.
One thing we didn't mention, which I think if you say, why would you come to New Haven or what should you do? You need to map out your pizza strategy,
Of
because
course.
pizza is a whole, we could probably do an hour on pizza. So if you're coming to New Haven or you want to move here, you have to really gather all the places that have pizza, read the reviews, so you get to them all, because you don't want to miss any.
I think, and then you need to have a panel like this and talk about what
Talk about the pizza.
why.
Maybe we could do that at the happy hour. We could all say, where's our favorite pizza in New Haven?
I love that. That's a great idea. Thanks, Betsy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jody, I think we're going to turn it back to you.
All right, well, I have to say, with Larry on the call here and talking about pizza, prior to COVID, Larry was working with the alumni group to plan a pizza tasting night at his favorite brewery. So once we're back in real life again, where we can have in-person events, that will be something that the New Haven group will be sponsoring. So definitely watch your email for those invites. So speaking of email and speaking of being on lists and things like that, that Betsy talked about, the list that she's talking about is the alumni database. And if we have your correct address and your email address, you will get invited to things that happen in the area that you live in, things that your school or college are sponsoring like business, or if you say you're interested in sports, you'll get things about sports. So it's very, very important that you update your physical address with us and your email address. Physical address, because we need that to know who to send the emails to. So if we're having an event in New Haven, we send it to the New Haven area folks. And right now, during COVID, we have not stopped engaging alums. We've had some phenomenal virtual events that get your email to us, because there's a lot of fun things going on. We've done a paint night with about 300 alums. We've done beer tastings, wine tastings, panels on social responsibility, career panels. I mean, you name it, we're doing it now. We're really hitting our stride with virtual events. And all we need is your email to get you connected with those. In terms of what's next, the happy hour, make sure you copy the link that's in your chat box for the happy hour. And we'll be heading over there now, where we can talk about other things. Like, I know that someone is interested in hearing about the job market in New Haven, and we can touch on a whole host of things during the happy hour. So get that link copied while I'm thanking the panel for a phenomenal job. The work that these volunteers have put in between meetings to set this up, getting prepared. I so appreciate what you all did to make this evening great. So thank you, and I look forward to continuing the discussion at happy hour.
Okay.
See you there.
All right, I'm ending now, and we're heading to happy hour, people.